your message to America tonight about faith and forgiveness in tragedy.
Yeah, well, I'm deeply rooted in my faith. And without the Lord, I would not be blessed with my sons. I would not have the ability to be able to forgive.
Megan, how do you feel on that front today?
I am not like their dad. I am so angry at that boy.
Why is this young man in jail when he didn't start it? He didn't approach anyone. They approached him. They used profane language toward him. They threatened him and then assaulted him, and he defended himself. Why is he in jail? He's defended himself from a vicious attack and assault. So this young man, in my opinion, should not be in jail. Teach your children. Keep your hands to yourself.
Today, I want to talk about the double standards of self-defense in America. On April 2nd, 2025, during the UIL District 11-5A track meet at Kuykendall Stadium in Frisco, Texas, a fatal altercation occurred between two 17-year-old students, Austin Metcalf and Karmelo Anthony. Metcalf, a junior at Memorial High School, confronted Anthony, a student from Centennial High School, about occupying space under Memorial's team tent during a rain delay. Witnesses reported that the situation escalated when Anthony allegedly retrieved a knife from his backpack and stabbed Metcalf in the chest. Despite immediate life-saving efforts, Metcalf was pronounced dead at the scene. Anthony was arrested on site and charged with first-degree murder. Anthony has claimed self-defense, stating he was protecting himself during the confrontation. As you can imagine, the incident has led to significant online discourse. Here are some of the conversations happening about this case. First, we will hear from the parents of the victim, Austin Metcalf.
I want, if it's okay, to get to the thing that really struck me of your comments earlier today was your faith, the community rallying to your family, and your forgiveness at a time of deep personal pain, given your bond between you and both of your sons, but the son you lost. Your message to America tonight about faith and forgiveness in tragedy.
Yeah, well, I'm deeply rooted in my faith. And without the Lord, I would not be blessed with my sons. I would not have the ability to be able to forgive. The thing about forgiveness is this: I don't forgive for the other person. I forgive for my own peace. I can't carry that around me. It would be like cancer. It would eat me up inside. So the Lord teaches us to forgive. Now, am I angry? Yes, I'm human. But I have to live with myself, so I have to forgive. And I'd like to tell what the world needs is more kind people. And if you can't find one, be one.
Jeff, again, this story gripped me to my core, and I know millions of people across this country are praying for your family and for you. And that message of forgiveness across all families and all of us, it is really powerful, especially coming after what happened this week. I'm so sorry for your loss, and thank you so much for sharing this story and Austin's story tonight.
Yes, okay.
Yes, sir.
But I have seen interviews with your husband in the last 24 hours, and it was remarkable to me that I heard your husband say within hours of this that he forgave this other young man, and he got there so quickly. And I honestly don't know that I could, and I just want to see, and I don't know that there's a right or a wrong place to be, especially as quickly as this has happened. Megan, how do you feel on that front today?
I am not like their dad. I am so angry at that boy. And it's just not fair. That's all I have.
I understand.
I'd like to say it's forgave, not forgotten, but I'm not at that point yet to forgive that kid for what he did to my brother. Because, 17 years, my best friend, just there in the blink of an eye, I lost him. So I'm not at that point to forgive and forget, but eventually I will. But I pray for his family. I pray that they understand what we're going through as well. I just pray for everybody.
I totally understand where both of you sit today on that front. I don't know that I could either. That's why I found it remarkable when I heard that from your husband. But everyone has to go through this their own way. I just pray that God goes through this with you both and your husband and the rest of your family. And I really appreciate you sharing this story with me and the rest of the nation. Megan, Hunter, thank you. Our prayers remain with you.
Next, we will hear from the attorney of Karmelo Anthony, followed by a debate on the tragedy.
Bring in former NFL player Jack Brewer. And Jack, we've heard this story now for about 24, 48 hours. There's one fundamental question that I can't answer. Maybe you can. How has society, and I see you're getting emotional on this, how could you not when you hear that? How has society reached the point where a teen brings a knife to a high school track meet?
Well, you know, Todd, I work in prisons, man, all over the country. And I got about 500 men in my program who have all committed crimes like this and different other crimes under the age of 18. And I got some kids in my program, 13, 14 years old, who have literally murdered people, you know, selling drugs, ravaging their communities. And the vast majority of them, man, just grew up. They never had a dad in their life, and they had these influences that had them doing evil things all around them. But you look at this young boy right here, man, play football like I did, you know, grew up, and clearly a child of God. His last tweet, I'm going to read it for you. His last tweet sent just a week ago, not even a week ago, 3-4 days ago. Faith that God got me and my work will pay off. It's his last tweet. So I got a message for his family. Philippians 1:21 says, to live is Christ and to die is gain. And that child of God right there is in heaven. And we got to stop this evilness in this country, Todd. We got to figure out a way to get to these kids, man. We have an epidemic on our hand in this nation. We have almost 18 million fatherless kids, and they are ravishing this nation. They are harassing our streets, and it doesn't matter what policies we pass. It doesn't matter whatever we want to do politically. None of that stuff matters if we don't get particularly to these young boys, these young black boys. Get to these young black boys, and let's get them right, man. Let's fix this nation. The black men in this nation have been through so much, and right now we have a bunch of them out there ravaging these streets, and we gotta come together as one nation and one blood and do something about it. These boys need help. These boys need fathers, and our families need to get put back together so we can all pursue the American dream.
The young man approached him with his brother, threatening Karmelo to move out of a spot that was not assigned to anybody. Where Karmelo was sitting, he had a right to be sitting. There was no assigned seating anywhere in the stadium that excluded students from sitting in certain areas. Then when they went to Karmelo, he was threatened by both brothers. And he told them, don't put your hands on me. And they threatened to put their hands on him. And he told them, if you put your hands on me, watch what happens. The white kid, in this case, punched Karmelo in the face. He didn't push him. He punched him in the face. And then that young man defended himself, and unfortunately, a young student lost his life. But Charles, in the state of Texas, you have a right to stand your ground, and if you are the victim of a vicious attack, you can use deadly force if necessary to protect yourself and your life, to stop you from becoming a further victim of an assault or a crime. Why is this young man in jail when he didn't start it? He didn't approach anyone. They approached him. They used profane language toward him. They threatened him and then assaulted him, and he defended himself. Why is he in jail? He defended himself from a vicious attack and assault. So this young man, in my opinion, should not be in jail. Teach your children. Keep your hands to yourself. That's what needs to be taught here. And to tell this young brother to give up your seat, give me your seat, this ain't no damn Rosa Parks era.
I rarely say this, Quanell. I sometimes internalize it, but shame on you. How absolutely despicable for you to sit here and try to draw this false equivalency between Rosa Parks and this scumbag murderer. right? Shame on you for living a life defined by make-believe racial grievance that you seek a pulpit to lie to people. And let's talk about those lies. Even if you assume everything that is coming out of the Karmelo Anthony camp, even if you assume all of that is true, under the laws of the state of Texas, he is still absolutely guilty of murder, period. Like, you can assume all the fabrications are true. It's still murder, right? You do not have a right to use deadly force in response to a shove or a punch. Now, mind you, all the witness statements are saying it was a shove that was goaded, but let's assume everyone's lying and this murderer is telling the truth. You still can't, because the scenario, what you're advocating for, and pulling Rosa Parks into, is that every time someone walks through a club and someone shoves them or bumps them, you can pull out a knife and stab.
When looking at American history, there has always been double standards when it comes to the use of self-defense. The Second Amendment, ratified in 1791, declares, "A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." The Second Amendment was never intended to protect black people's rights. Instead, it was shaped by a deep fear among white Southerners of slave rebellions and black self-defense. James Madison added the Second Amendment under pressure from Southern states who feared the federal government could take away their ability to arm slave patrols. The amendment was a concession to white supremacy, not liberty. History has shown that black Americans have historically been denied full access to Second Amendment protections. After the Civil War, newly freed black Americans, freedmen, were often attacked for simply trying to exercise their civil rights. This eventually led to freedmen black Americans forming self-defense groups such as the Deacons for Defense and Justice in 1964, who were a group of black veterans that armed themselves in Louisiana to protect civil rights workers. Also, you had Robert F. Williams, who used his NRA membership to legally form armed defense units in North Carolina. When the Black Panthers legally carried firearms in California in the 1960s to monitor police brutality, it alarmed lawmakers. In response, then-Governor Ronald Reagan signed the Mulford Act, 1967, banning open carry in California. Philando Castile in 2016 was a black legal gun owner who informed a Minnesota police officer he was carrying a firearm. Seconds later, he was unalive during a traffic stop. The officer was acquitted. John Crawford III in 2014 was unalive by police inside a Walmart in Ohio for holding a BB gun sold in the store. He made no threats, but officers weren't charged. Marissa Alexander in 2010 was a black woman in Florida who fired a warning shot to scare off her abusive husband. She was sentenced to 20 years under mandatory minimum laws, though she didn't injure anyone. When black people organized for self-defense, it was seen as a threat to white power, no matter how lawful it was. Contrast that with George Zimmerman in 2012. Zimmerman shot an unalive, unarmed black teen Trayvon Martin in Florida, claiming self-defense. He was acquitted. Despite initiating the confrontation, Zimmerman was portrayed by many as a law-abiding citizen defending himself. Kyle Rittenhouse in 2020 traveled across state lines, unalived 2 protesters during unrest in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Despite being underage and armed with an AR-15, he was acquitted and widely hailed as a hero by some political groups. Daniel Penny in 2023 was a former Marine who unalived Jordan Neely, a homeless black man, on a New York subway by chokehold. Penny was treated sympathetically in media and by donors despite having used deadly force on an unarmed man in mental distress. Another thing to consider is that Texas has one of the strongest stand-your-ground laws in the U.S., allowing deadly force without the duty to retreat if someone feels threatened in a place they're legally allowed to be. The Castle Doctrine extends protection to home, vehicle, and workplace. Despite the legal equality in theory, studies show racial bias in application. White defendants are more likely to be acquitted, especially if the victim is black. Black defendants using the same defense are less likely to be believed. Laws like Stand Your Ground are not applied equally, and their use reflects a society that sees white fear as legitimate and black survival as criminal. When white people use self-defense, it is seen as patriotic, exercising their constitutional rights. When black people use self-defense, it is viewed as dangerous, criminal, or militant. While it is said that people have the universal right to defend themselves, clearly, there are two justice systems in America. Tell me what you think about this topic. Hope you find the information in this video informative. Feel free to like, subscribe, share, comment. Thanks for watching.